Elliot Roger here. Well, this is my last video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity. Against all of you.
What's up, everybody? I know I'm having a good time. I hope you all are too. Even though nobody's watching, of course. I was just watching this whatever podcast, and I couldn't help but to comment on this, well, this hooker, quite frankly, claiming that she is a communist. Now, I'm not sure how that works, if the state pays her to suck other guys off, but let's give it a listen.
Yeah. I'd say I'm moderate to conservative. Ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moderate.
I don't want to tell you, like, you know what I mean? Because it's my opinion and you're...
No, I don't.
Whatever.
So, okay, what do you disagree with me on?
Like, everything. Like, I would say I'm
what-
probably the most...
Wow. Young female from California completely disagrees with the middle-aged man and his right-wing beliefs.
left-leaning here. Like,
Okay,
I'm
sure.
more like socialist, communist.
That's a good place
You look like one, too. Especially from the coast.
to start. Okay.
Right there. So,
So you're socialist / communist.
yeah.
Okay. So do
Yeah,
you
bruh.
think what's like the tenet of communism? You don't believe
Do
that?
you believe in private property?
Yeah. Do you believe in? That's what else.
See, it's really hard to...
Tough. Lady. You want to get rid of private property? Then you're going to have to give me your earrings.
navigate these kinds of conversations, but it's basically like you can look at how we kind of are, like America right now, and how we are like economically. Like most Americans are living like under the poverty line, you know what I mean? And like
Oh, poor
even people are
people.
getting $100,000 salary, $200,000. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and I just think everybody like
What? Did she just say that? People who are making $100,000 salaries that are living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know about you, but I wish I could have $100,000 a month year salary. I wouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck on that. I think there's something else that's wrong here. Not at the amount of money people are making.
livable wages should be happening, you know what I mean?
Can
Cost
you
of living shouldn't be so
point
high.
me to an example where communism or socialism provided a better quality of life than the life in America?
I think Cuba was really promising up until
Cuba. That's why the Cubans flee every year. Thousands of them flee to Florida on boats made out of milk jugs. Like, come on, for real here. For real.
the U.S. like started putting
Do you realize how much of
restrictions
a
on
do you
trading
realize
for
how much
Cuba.
of a shit
It's the US's fault that Cuba's industry failed. Not the Cubans' fault. No, those sanctions really work. Doing great against Russia. Worked out well against China.
hole Cuba is?
That's because of the United States.
So you don't think it's the fact that the government went and nationalized everything and they put Che Guevara in as the head of economics in Cuba, somebody who had never done that before?
Do you think the issue is they didn't have enough food to feed people?
They nationalized the industries. You don't think that a bunch of guerrilla warfare fighters coming into Havana and taking over the
I
country
think
would...
Cuba had a promising chance up until the United States started putting like restrictions on Cuba. And
As in-
that's
Well, Cuba shouldn't have put nukes on their board. Consider putting nukes on their island. You know, at that point, you're making yourself a serious threat.
part of the reason why Cuba is so poor
Embargoes.
now.
But do you
is
not
their
think...
trading
Do you
restrictions.
not think that it was like there was a part of it that might have been the socialist factor, the fact that they nationalized everything and didn't know what they were doing.
I don't know if it was always about the socialist factor, but more about the fact that they didn't care if people starved and died. Just saying.
I mean, I can agree with you to the point that it hasn't been like as effective as it could have been played out, like in any case. So it hasn't successfully like.
Okay, so Cuba's not a good example. Do you have another good example of another country that has done a good job with socialism and communism?
No.
Do you know it's been tried many times? Soviet
No, I can't name another one. I mean, Vietnam's not that bad. These days, at least.
Union did it, no good. China did it, Vietnam did it, Laos did it.
My favorite thing the Vietnamese actually did, it wasn't completely recently, but there was a huge uproar with the government trying to take in Chinese companies for making all these goods, and they're like, no, and they started protesting and had a big deal about it, and the government quickly responded because, every Viet Cong has an AK.
Cambodia did it.
Okay, but capitalism isn't doing great either.
Capitalism's doing a lot better than communism. A lot better. And if you look at the rise in the third world at the moment, that's all because of free markets, and it's all because of cheap energy and all of these.
The third world was really rising. It's doing swell. Better than ever. They surely wouldn't have been better if, it never happened and we never met them anyways. Africa being so much more stable state.
Things that capitalism provides.
Thanks, Killian. Wait, so would you like to see the U.S. become a communist country?
I think there needs to be
it should happen
kind of how communism is laid out. I still think there's flaws within that, right? I'm
we should have a revolution and stop Trump.
not trying to say it's the perfect solution. I just think on a baseline, it would be more effective. Most people would have a better quality of life.
Most people would just have a better quality of life. And yet I'm living, paycheck by paycheck on 100K. Right, bitch. How much do you think she makes selling her pussy? How much? I have no idea who she is, her name, or what content she does. All I know is she's a whore. That's it. That's the details. You don't need to know anything more. She looks like a whore. She acts like a whore. She's as smart as a whore. She is a whore.
Would there... Here, we'll let this go.
Brandon Lee donated $100.
Oh.
Another vapid 304 selling her flesh while whining about capitalism. Do you not realize what you are doing is capitalism?
Do you have a response to Brandon Lee here?
Yeah, so I live in a capitalist country. Why would I not do what I can to have the best quality of life I could just because I...
You live in a capitalist country, but now I want it to be a communist country. Do you really want it to be a communist country? Or do you want it to be what the capitalists are saying they want it to be?
Believe in something doesn't mean that I should struggle or be poverty stricken.
What is... I think there is actually a good counter argument to this. Maybe, Jake, you're familiar with it. This whole because I think it's really important that both... Well, your side, whatever side, puts forth really solid arguments. And I think the counter to that is, typically people, when it comes to communism, they'll argue, well, you have an iPhone. But I don't think that's a very compelling argument because, people are going to, if they're born into a society, they're going to have to maneuver through that society with the rules that have been...
You gotta, put food on the table and a roof over your head. The basics. A car that has heat and starts. It's a helpful thing.
Placed. So there's
having an iPhone in the eyes of a communist, that having an iPhone is a bad thing.
No, it's more so just...
No. Everyone needs to have an iPhone underneath modern communism. Everyone needs a frappe latte from Starbucks and an iPhone to be real communists in the modern age.
I'm not in favor of communism, but I'm just trying to steelman the capitalist position. I'm not sure if the best argument is, well, you engage in capitalism, so why are you in favor of communism?
Oh, yeah,
Do you I can't think of the actual the steel man for it, but
Stick to asking them about their body count, Brian.
I get what
Brandon
you mean.
Lee, I appreciate
because Brandon kind of said that she's engaging in capitalism. Well, you do live in a capitalist society.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's no problems with capitalism, but by far and away, it's the best system we've ever tried. And you just have to look at the evidence. And you can literally, I went to Korea last year, and I went to South Korea.
Without a doubt, it is the best system that is, and the most successful system we've ever utilized.
And I went to the demilitarized zone, which is on the border of North Korea. And it is night and day between those two countries, because one of them embraced a Soviet-style communist system or socialist system, and one of them embraced a Western-style capitalist system. You go to Cambodia, and you look at what happens when the Khmer Rouge came and took over. Absolute brutality. And that's because
Absolutely amazing.
equality has to be forced, because human beings are inherently different.
A beautiful, excellent, just example of human biodiversity, just for real. Real anthropological shit that happened there.
Before you respond, we're not going to linger too long. We're not going to linger
Grid
too
One
long on this
Motorsports
topic.
donated $100. Tell me you know jack crap about economics in plain language. Check. In the little box on your tax return where it asks how much extra you want to pay, how much do you write in? Bet it is 0.
Grid. This bitch doesn't do her own taxes. Like, for real, man.
In the little box on your tax return,
I doubt she could even tell you what the IRS is, let alone their acronym.
Yeah.
when it asks how much extra you want to pay.
But I think essentially what you're saying is that there's economic disparity in America, and you're saying that it's unfair.
Yeah.
It is unfair, but life's unfair.
Yeah, man. It's unfair. Life sucks. Simple way to look at it, I guess. Life doesn't suck. Life is sucking more and more, to be precise.
Fair. And
I
we
mean, I don't
can
think that's
do better, certainly, but I'm telling you, and I can explain it to you more if you'd like throughout the podcast. Communism, not the answer. There are answers, communism, not it.
I have
I
a
think
question.
it's-
Could I ask you a question about
Yeah.
it? Just to get more of a sense of what you believe.
No, you can't ask a question.
I haven't seen it played out, and it's not exactly that, but it would be the closest thing to kind of put language into it.
So how can you believe that something
Like, communists would be like the closest thing to represent for my fifis, brah.
is great
How original. What else would you expect from a woman?
if you've never seen it be great?
A young, naive woman, to say the least. You know, not all women are like that, but come on. It's a shame what they're doing to them in education right now. Really spoiling them.
I never said it was great. I said it's like what I believe to be the best system.
Have you seen
So
it
it's the
be
best,
great?
not not
Has
great.
communism ever worked?
No.
And this is what
I don't
I'm
think
saying.
so.
Like, it's the closest thing
Well, it did work. It worked out great at getting rid of other people.
to what I believe in.
But I
So
think
it
that
would
when you
be
just look at
the
it on
closest
the
solution.
raw facts, though, communism was responsible for the death of north of 100 million people in the 20th century. So when you look at
And isn't that their intentions?
that ideology and you say, you know what, I think we should try it again, you'd have your detractors. Okay, but I do get what you're saying, because
Also
you
think
you
part of it
believe
is
in
that-
inequality, and you think that you've
Equality, diversity, and all inclusion.
arrived at this. Do you go to university or college?
I dropped out.
Okay.
before-
No
did you hear a little
fucking
bit of this
shit.
sort of
No shit, you dropped out.
rhetoric / propaganda at university? Is that where you pick these ideas up? Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think it's really tricky because I mean we're all like we have like a capitalist scope on things, so it's the way we're viewing communism is also through like how we've been social.
Capitalism doesn't shape my view in whatever way in what I think about communism.
socialized and how our
You can
brains
go
are
to
kind of,
communist
like,
countries, see how it is. I've
I
been
mean,
to
yeah,
many
but
of
I
them.
haven't had the opportunity yet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm still very like young, and there's a lot
I
of
understand
things
because
I
when
would
I
like-
was your age, I actually used to think similarly. I used to be like a Bernie Sanders bro, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you know.
When I was like your age, I was like Bernie bro and Alexandria or Octavio October Cortez. No, not when you were her age. Dude, you're like 30. You're like 30. She's like maybe 21. I wouldn't be surprised if she was 19 and doing porn. Just saying. No. Alexandria Octavia Cortez didn't exist, you know, when you were her age. No. You were recently a leftist queer.
I used to love it. I used to think, so everyone can just be equal and it'll be the best. But then after a while, when you look into it and you realize that actually it's manufactured equality. And when you try and manufacture equality, it leads to brutality. But, you know, keep going, you'll get there.
Brandon Lee donated $100.
Is that supposed to be a bad thing?
Thank you, Brandon.
There is no country that makes the example of communism to be anywhere near our current society. Your learning life has failed you. Stick to learning about how to get guys off.
Did you have a response to Brandon Lee?
Brutal. Oh, the super chatters. Brutal and on point.
I know he's tipping a lot for this, so you know.
Redirect him.
Yeah. Well, so thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. I have a question. So, look, I'm not super well versed in
King
this
Brandon
topic,
Lee.
but, under communism, would there be currency?
Yeah.
There'd be currency.
Well,
so
like, yeah, bro, of course there's going to be money. Why wouldn't there be? We're not, like, trading and bartering for goats. Not from her understanding of communism, at least.
there'd be we'd
Like-
still have U.S. dollars.
So what I'm trying to say, right, is that I don't fully believe in communism as how communism is. That's just the closest thing to what I believe in, and that's why I was trying to like address.
What I'm trying to say is like I have no idea what I'm actually talking about, and I'm just like culturally a communist from California. Just another coastal cuck, your average girl. I'm just a simpleton. I'm just an innocent poor lady.
some of the things that I do believe in, like I think there should be like a baseline of like livable
Well-
wages and things like that.
Wait, but
so it's
okay.
more so things that I would like.
I don't want people to suffer. Oh.
To have for the community as a whole.
Doc Vinably donated
It's funny how these people, their intentions are to prevent people from suffering, and all they're doing is making more people suffer. Funny how that works. It's a cruel joke of the reality we live in.
$100. Cuba is 90 miles from Key West. You can swim there. Once there,
You're in
the bread
Miami,
lines
right?
will help you get
Yeah.
even skinnier. Good luck finding a good hookup for Yorov. Genius.
Would you consider, how's your swimming?
Do you think she could make a milk jug boat and paddle over there? Or would she have to get picked up by someone else paddling over and bring her over to the right side?
Decent, I guess.
If you were to swim from
My bet is she couldn't make a boat out of milk jugs, let alone a raft or even a flotation device of any kind.
Miami to Cuba, would it be a breaststroke? Would it be butterfly?
Maybe like a
What's your
backstroke.
preferred backstroke? That would be a good
Yeah.
way to get there. Thank you, Doc Vanablis. Good to see you in the chat. Well, okay, so under communism, let's say there's somebody who's a doctor and then somebody who's a secretary. How are they, like, are they both compensated equally, like the same amount?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Why shouldn't they be?
So the secretary, who need not spend hundreds, thousands of hours attaining second.
Brian's just hitting her with all the simple points, and then she responds with the obvious answer of what she knows communism is. At least what she knows, what she's been told. And then Brian just follows up with a basic response, and she kind of breaks down after that. It's real tragic. Look at the distress in her eyes. A gazelle getting hunted by Brian the lion, ready to slaughter his prey.
Like other forms of education, she's compensated just as well as the doctor. So what's the incentive for somebody in a communist society where everything is supposedly provided for them to like put in all this extra effort? Like, also, what about who wants to be a janitor, or who wants a dirty or dangerous job under communism? Wouldn't everybody just want to do the most?
Some places.
You know, there's some things for this, some things for that, and I'd just be a whore underneath communism. Some things change, and other things just stay the same.
That aren't communist, but they do like have certain like other developed countries like the Netherlands, right, where they have a pretty high quality.
You
of
think
life.
that
So communist. What she's meaning is like they're socialists, bro. They have like feed everybody and give their prisoners like cable TV and internet access and Xboxes. That's what we need to do. Xboxes for prisoners.
Netherlands
it's
is
not
I've been
communist, but
I've been there 3 times.
I'm
not
getting there. I'm getting to the point that I'm
Okay.
making. I'm not saying it's a communist,
but
whatever.
you
But they have
Oh, whatever.
like, livable wages.
Did she forget
and
the
higher
name of what a
taxes,
country's
right?
called?
And one of the things you look at is when everyone has enough to live, the incentive to make more money, or a lot of Europe like doesn't have a lot of millionaires because there's not that drive to have this excess of wealth when you can survive. That it's just not natural. You know what I mean? Like,
Can I ask
the
something?
Netherlands.
Word country's called.
Getting rid
Slurs.
of like the labels capitalism, socialism, communism, can you give us like an idea of what the ideal society system would be? Like, you don't have to stick to any like
End world hunger. That's what she's going to say. She was going to say everybody should be taken care of and everybody should be loved for like any other model on TV. And just like she's going to end world hunger with her communism, we're going to end this stream.